Now we're in John chapter 18 now, verse 1. When Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Cedron, where was a garden, into which he entered and his disciples, which is the garden of Gethsemane. And Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Jesus oftentimes resorted thither with his disciples. So this is a garden that they frequented, they went to a lot. Now Judas then, having received a band and officers from the chief priests and Pharisees, cometh thither. Now, like a mass of men is what the band is. A band of men and officers from the chief priest and Pharisees. So they gave him a bunch of officers from the priest, the high priest, and the Pharisees. And they cometh thither with lanterns and torches and weapons. So they came with lights, because this is nighttime still. He came with lights, torches, and weapons. Came with swords. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things. See, that's the only way the workers of iniquity or the workers of darkness could come. I mean, they didn't know other way. They're murderers. They had the spirit of murder in them. Okay, the spirit of the prince of this world. So they came with lanterns, torches, and weapons. Jesus, therefore, knowing all things that should come upon him, went forth and said unto them, Whom seek ye? Who you looking for? They answered him, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus saith unto them, I am. And Judas also, which betrayed him, stood with them. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am, they went backward and fell to the ground. Now, once again, this I am has he behind it, but it's in italics. So what he said to them was, I am. And that's very interesting. He ends up saying I am to them 3 times. And they fell back. The power of that. As soon then as he had said unto them, I am, they went backward and fell to the ground. I mean, that should have been enough signs for me. It would have been time to go. Look, I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm out of here. He said I am, and I fell back. I don't even know what's going on here. But then asked he them again, Whom seek ye? Who are you looking for? And they said, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus answered, I have told you that I am. If therefore you seek me, let these go their way. Okay? That the saying might be fulfilled, which he spake of them which thou gavest me, have I lost none. Okay? Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it, and smote the high priest's servant, and cut off his right ear. The servant's name was Malchus. Then said Jesus unto Peter, Put up thy sword into the sheath. The cup which my Father hath given me, shall I not drink it? It's interesting that he used that terminology. The cup that his Father has given him, he must drink. Should he not drink of it? Okay, he's not talking about a literal cup that he's going to drink of it. Okay, so that's very interesting there. That cup and drinking of it. All right. Then the band and the captain and officers of the Jews took Jesus and bound him. Okay, so they tied him up, they bound him, and led him away to Annas first, for he was father-in-law to Caiaphas, which was the high priest that same year. Okay, so he took him to the father-in-law in Caiaphas. Now this tells you this is who is orchestrating all this. Okay, this is who's at the head of all of this attack. Annas and Caiaphas. Now Caiaphas was he which gave counsel to the Jews that it was expedient that one man should die for the people. Now Caiaphas is the high priest. So he said that he let them know that it's important that one man should die for the people. Why? I don't know for sure. Now, this is all being orchestrated by God, we must remember. So God put it in them to make it expedient that he tell the Jews that one man should die for them. And they wanted that man to be Jesus because he was messing up their money. And Simon Peter followed Jesus and another disciple. That disciple was known unto the high priest and went in with Jesus into the palace of the high priest. Now, I believe that disciple was John. It really doesn't make a difference which disciple. We know a disciple let Peter in, who knew the high priest and let Peter in. Okay. So I think it was John, because most of this book of John, the Gospel of John, John doesn't refer to himself in the third person. He refers to himself as that other disciple, or the disciple that Jesus loved. He doesn't call his name, So he says, and Simon Peter followed Jesus, and another disciple, that disciple was known unto the high priest, and went in with Jesus into the palace of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door without. Then went out that other disciple which was known unto the high priest, and spake unto her that kept the door, and brought in Peter. Then saith the damsel that kept the door unto Peter, Art not thou also of this man's disciples? He saith, and Peter said, I am not. And the servants and officers stood there, who had made a fire of coals. See, this was cold out there. It was wintertime. It was nighttime. It was cold. It was a cold night, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them and warmed himself. The high priest then asked Jesus of his disciples and of his doctrine. Okay, so the high priest is trying to Caiaphas is trying to figure out who Jesus' disciples were and what doctrine, what is his teachings. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple. I was there with you guys teaching. I taught right in front of you. What are you asking me for now? What my doctrine is? You know what it is. And in the temple, whither the Jews always resort, and in secret have I said nothing. Now, it's interesting that he said where the Jews always resort. So they were always in the synagogue. They were always in the church to compare to today. They were always in the church. But look at this. Jesus in another place called them vipers. How can you escape the damnation of hell? But they were always in the synagogues. They were the church leaders. They were the leaders. Okay. Now, why askest thou me? Ask them which heard me, what I have said unto them. Behold, they know what I said. And when he had thus spoken, one of the officers which stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, Answerest thou the high priest so? You just slapped God in the mouth and going to ask him, how do you're going to talk to the high priest like that? See, they revered men. They revered men. They revered men. That there's people today, boy. You say something about their pastor or preacher or minister, and I'm not against pastors. Don't get that wrong. I have full respect of that office, and that won't change. But there are a lot of false prophets out here. There's a lot of fake people that are abusing the positions that should be held by men of God, and they will slap you in the mouth for their preacher. They will slap you in the mouth for their preacher, for you saying something against them. So that's very interesting there. But let's keep going. Jesus answered him, If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil. But if well, why smitest thou me? So he said, if I said something that was evil or wrong, point it out. Show me what I did wrong for you to slap me in the mouth. But if I said something well, why'd you slap me then? Now Annas had sent him bound unto Caiaphas the high priest. Okay, so he was talking to Annas, I forgot. Now he sent him to the high priest Caiaphas. Now, and Simon Peter stood and warmed himself. They said therefore unto him, Art not thou also of his disciples? So they asked Peter again. He already said once, I am not. Now he says, he denied and said, I am not. He said it again. One of the servants of the high priest, being kinsman with whose ear Peter cut off, saith, Did not I see thee in the garden with him? Didn't I see you out there with him? In fact, you cut his ear off. Peter then denied again, and immediately the cock crew. Now, let's stop there. This Peter is a follower of Christ. He's a believer. He believes that God came, but fear overtook him. Satan, the prince of darkness, found something in him. Okay, he found fear, and that fear caused him to lie, which is a sin, which is one of the 10 Commandments. You see, he broke that. He broke that sin. Okay, but it was all done for the glory of God, because eventually, because we all know how Peter's situation ended up. But I just think it's very interesting that that he did that. He sinned. In the Old Testament time, for lying, you would get killed. You were stoned for that. Okay, so that's very significant there. Then led they Jesus from Caiaphas unto the hall of judgment, and it was early, and they themselves went not into the judgment hall, lest they should be defiled, but they might eat the Passover. See, they so ritualistic in their traditions and customs. They're about to murder the Son of God. They got plans to murder the Son of God, but they refuse to go in the judgment hall. That's some crazy dogma right there. They refuse to go in the judgment hall lest they be defiled. How, that's a strong delusion. Something's not right with you. When you're a sinful person in the world, your mind is warped. You have a warped way of thinking, and that's a warped way of thinking right there. They don't want to be defiled, but they're about to murder somebody. It's just like people go to church, and I'm not downgrading everybody. There's many exceptions to the rule. There are good Christians that are in churches all over. So don't get me twisted when I say this, but it's true. Is it true what I'm saying? There's so many people that go to church every Sunday, and then they spend the rest of their week breaking every commandment they possibly can, and that's the same spirit that's right here in them. Oh no, we don't want to be defiled, but we're about to murder the Son of God, so that's just crazy to me. But let's keep going on. Then led they Jesus in the they didn't want to be defiled because they had to eat the Passover. Pilate then went out unto them and said, What accusation bring ye against this man? So Pilate wanted to know, okay, why are you bringing him to me? What are you accusing him of?